Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Pyuriii Reviews. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Razer DeathAdder V3 Pro. I've been using this for about 4 months now as my primary mouse. As you can see, I have a lot of different options here and I find myself going back to this one over and over. And I'm just gonna go over some of the reasons why with you here. So over the years, my preferences for my primary mouse has changed. For the most part, I look for characteristics that will enhance my gaming experience, and then I just use those as my dailies usually. My mouse game started out with the Logitech MX Master Series. I swore by these mouses. They were very heavy, really low DPI compared to the types of mouses I use today, but that's where I started. As I started to game more on PC, I looked for more gaming-centric mouses with higher DPI sensors. I thought that was the most important thing. And when I went to a higher sensor, yeah, it did make a big difference. So I started to look for mouses with higher DPI sensors and started to see these honeycomb mouses. So I wanted to see what this whole lightweight scene was all about. I actually moved on to using a honeycomb as my primary. After being on a wired honeycomb with high DPI for a while, I started to hear about these super light mouses that were wireless. So the G Pro Superlight was my first foray into that world, and I was kind of blown away. Ever since then, the first thing I look for in my mouse is for it to be ultra lightweight. Not just super lightweight anymore, ultra lightweight. I never knew the weight of the mouse would have such an impact on how much I feel connected to what's on the screen. But it's that important to me. Given that I used the G Pro Superlight for well over a year, I started to look at some of the newer mouses that are coming out, and I wanted to see what they can bring in addition to the table, if any. So as you can see, I've got a bunch of high-end mouses here. I've tested them all out and I've been planning on giving my feedback on them for a while, and this is the start of that effort. So here we go. Razer DeathAdder V3 Pro first. Okay, so first let's talk about build quality and the design. The build quality is excellent. The shell is very rigid but light. Talking about the weight, it is 63 grams stock. I have the included grips attached to it, and that does add a little weight, but I'm gonna touch on why I leave these on in a little bit. In terms of size, the length is about 5 inches. The width is about 2.67 inches. And then the height is about 1.73 inches. So you can see the shape here. It is ergonomically shaped for the right hand. So you do need to be right-handed in order to use this mouse, unless you want to have an uncomfortable experience as a left-hander. It sports the Razer Focus Pro 30K optical sensor, as you can see here. I've got a little dust buildup on my PTFE feet, as well as a good bit of wear on it, as you can see. The switches are Optical Gen 3 from Razer. They're good for about 90 million clicks. There are 5 different buttons on the unit itself. I'm gonna put it up to the mic so you can hear each one. This is left click. This is the middle click and the wheel. This is right click. Forward button. Back button. On the bottom, there's a power/DPI button. If you hold it down, it will switch the power off. If you press it, I think there's something like 3 or 4 presets for the DPI settings, but I don't even use that. But if you do, it is available. If I hold it down, you'll see the blue light come on. it'll blink a few times, and if I click the button, I don't get any response on the LED. That means the unit's off. If I hold it down again, the white light comes on and the unit is on now. Now if I hit the DPI button, oh, okay, so there's a color associated with each value. I've never actually used that button, so that's actually pretty cool. I don't know which one I was on though. Not that one. I think it was this one. So I think I'm on green usually. Okay. As I said earlier, I've been using mine for about 4 months. I put the grips on probably about 1 month into use. As you can see, there's a little bit of buildup on the grips. The mouse itself doesn't really gather that much kind of sweat and grime. The grips do more than the mouse itself. The surface of the mouse is, okay, you can see on the buttons there, I've got a little grime there. And then over here, I've got a little bit of buildup. I'll clean that up after this video. But I just want to show you what it looks like unfiltered. And I didn't clean this beforehand or anything. This is just how it looks after 4 months of use. It's pretty clean. My G Pro Superlight, on the other hand, I feel like gathered more grime and I needed to clean it a lot more. I don't know if it has to do with the smooth surface compared to this kind of textured chalky surface. I would expect this to pick up more actually, but hasn't been the case. It's been easy to maintain. It stayed clean. It has a USB-C port for charging. It comes with a SpeedFlex USB-C cable, and by default, it gives you a 2.4 gigahertz polling dongle. The DeathAdder V3 Pro is compatible with the 4K polling dongle. So if you want to get the lowest input latency possible, you can do it with this 4K dongle, which is available for purchase through Razer or any other retailer. So here you can see the differences between the 4K dongle and the 2.4 gigahertz dongle. This one is USB-C, does not have another USB port on it. The 2.4 standard dongle plugs in the USB cable and then has another port for you to plug in the 2.4 gigahertz dongle. Both work very well. 4K is the new super premium option. So the last thing I'll talk about in the construction of the Razer DeathAdder V3 Pro is the feeling of the clicks with the optical switches. But this is probably my favorite feature of the mouse. The clicks just feel so crisp and it feels like it instantly responds as soon as I click. So there's no give or bounce back feeling. It just kind of right when I want to click it, it feels like it responds. And I think this is very special about this mouse. The best way I can describe it is kind of like, if you've ever had a Choco taco, sometimes you'll get the freshest one and you just bite into it and the cone is just crispy and delicious and just fresh. And sometimes you get the one that's been sitting in the freezer for about a month, and when you bite into it, the cone doesn't even break. It just kind of like feels like you're biting into like some soft styrofoam or something. That's the best way I can describe it. It feels like that fresh Choco taco cone, just crisp and breaking apart, you know, just delicious. So the clicks on this are a fresh Choco taco rating. That's what I give it. Okay, in terms of comfort and ergonomics, before I was using this mouse, I was using the G Pro Superlight as my primary mouse for probably over a year. I do have Corepadz skates on here, which really enhanced the feel of the mouse, made it feel like it's gliding. And I'm gonna do a long-term review on this mouse and why I think it's so legendary. I think this mouse changed the gaming mouse market the most out of any other mouse that I've seen in my time as a gamer. So I'm gonna do a feature on it, but that's for a different video. The thing I wanna talk about There isn't a bad thing I can say about this mouse. It's almost a perfect mouse for me. The only thing is I have kind of larger hands, so if I could have a gripe about this mouse, I always wished that there was a larger version of this for me. And when I saw the Death Adder V3 Pro, I was really excited because, as you can see, it's a little bit larger and it's right-handed ergo, which is exactly what I was looking for. So it took what the G Pro Superlight did and made it so successful, which was, you know, a really light mouse, beautiful, no RGB, no extra frills, just all about performance and shaving down every unneeded aspect, just so that you have a pure pointing device that allows you to translate what you want to happen in your head on the screen immediately. So I think the G Pro Superlight was the champion for a long time. I've been using this one for about 4 months now, and for me, this is the best gaming mouse on the market. I do have some other mouses here that I'm gonna review, and I'm gonna start doing more and more hardware reviews going forward, but this is my first one. If you have any suggestions on the type of content I should include, feel free to include it in the comments below, or even hit me up on Discord, join my community. I'd love to hear from you. So this is my grip style. I do a hybrid of a claw and fingertip and a little bit of palm over here, and my wrist is usually resting on the table. So this grip style is similar to the way I hold my pencil, because I hold it at an angle. I have my middle finger supporting, and then my control is generated from the wrist, and this is how I draw and write. So I find it most comfortable to mimic that type of movement when I'm playing games, and I find that I can make the most precise movements when I have this grip style. And it sort of matches the way I hold my pencil. So it's not a typical grip style, and this mouse actually fits the way I hold the mouse perfectly. When I would use my G Pro Superlight, I would find myself kind of turning my mouse this way and using it like this. And it was fine. I had no problems with it. But once I started using this, which is shaped a little more ergonomically, my hand kind of rested on it because there was this hump in the front. Whereas on the G Pro Superlight, it was right in the middle with the symmetric design. So this is probably 5 to 10% more comfortable, which means I'm thinking about it 5 to 10% less, which translates for me into a better gaming experience. So here I am telling you that I prioritize the weight of the mouse first, and I'm adding grip tape that adds to the overall weight of an ultra lightweight mouse. So let me explain why I do that, okay? I still value the weight of the mouse the most, but there's a difference between the actual weight and the feel in your hand, okay? Now,
a wired lightweight mouse
will probably always weigh less than a wireless mouse. But when you're actually using it, because you're tethered by the wire, that adds weight and feel, regardless of how little the actual unit weighs. So I just want to point out that there's a difference between the actual weight and what it will feel like in your hand, okay? So even though this grip tape adds a little overall weight to the unit, it allows me to make smaller points of contact and still have the same precision and movement. So it feels very, very, very light in use, okay? In contrast, this mouse might weigh the same or maybe even less with the grips on, but because it's a smoother surface, there's less surface tension. That means I have to put more of my fingertip down in order for me to feel secure in the grip, okay? So I have to put more weight down, I have to put more pressure on my fingers, and it ends up feeling a lot more heavy than this one, even though on a scale they might look equal, or this might even be more. I don't know, I forget how much this one weighs. I think it's the same. My point remains that the grip tape, even though it adds a little weight, overall, it actually makes the unit feel lighter in hand. Okay. So moving on. Durability, I've been using it for about 4 months. It still looks brand new besides, you know, a little bit of grime buildup that I can clean very quickly. If you look at the PTFE feet, they have been worn down a little bit. As you can see, I use it straight on my desktop, and that does lead to accelerated wear on the feet. I will say that it doesn't feel as smooth as it did on day one. It doesn't glide as much. And you can hear that there's a good bit of noise when it slides across the desk, okay? I recently replaced the feet on my G Pro Superlight with some Corepadz skates. And these are a little bit newer. You can tell they haven't been worn down as much. And this one, in terms of the way it feels on the table, glides a little more. So I'm gonna be replacing the feet on this very soon. So now that those feet have been worn down a bit, I've gotten some new feet to try out, and I'm gonna be reviewing them in some subsequent videos. But I have the Superglide premium glass mouse skates for the Death Adder V3 Pro. And of course they're in green, my favorite color. So I'm gonna review these soon, as well as these. These are the Corepadz Skates Air 629 replacement mouse feet. You can see they've got a bit of dimpling on the surface. And I forget if this makes it slower or faster, but there was some feature I read about when I ordered these. So be on the lookout for those. I'll be uploading those reviews soon, and I'm gonna be doing a lot more hardware reviews going forward. And if you want to see any more reviews on any of the hardware that I've unboxed or featured, or you see in my hardware list, go ahead and shoot me a message, leave it in the comments below, join my Discord, jump onto my website. There's a lot of ways you can reach me, and I'd love to hear from you. So I hope this review was helpful for you. If you have any more questions, like I said, reach out to me in any of the ways that I listed earlier, and I'd love to have a conversation. So thanks for watching, and have a great day, guys.